How we doing, folks? Welcome into Week 14, Week 3 of the postseason. I'm Jason Blakeney, and with me is Brady Amon. And Brady, we're down to 2 games last week. Now we're down to 2 teams. And first, let's go on the road. The higher classification, 1-6A, Pace travels to Bartram Trail, just outside of Jacksonville. What do you expect to see there tonight?
Well, I think it's an interesting matchup because you have Pace on one side that is, as steady as it comes, just a consistent team, as Coach Lindsey kind of says all year long. They're just a team. They don't have any superstars. Maybe Patrick Mattis you kind of consider a superstar of if you had to pick one, but for the most part, a bunch of kind of blue collar guys. Whereas Bartram Trail loaded with Division I prospects, quarterback that's going to Tennessee, a receiver that is going to Wake Forest, another one that's going to Troy, a defensive lineman that's going to West Virginia. Of course, these are all verbal commitments, but still, a team loaded with talent, taking on a Pace team that's just been kind of steady all year long.
Right, and, it'd be interesting to see what they can do defensively here. When you have that much talent on the offensive side of the ball, you have to know they're going to score some points. Can Pace keep pace with them, and can they keep them from scoring too many points early where Pace has to drop back and throw the ball? Because that's not their strong suit. Throwing the ball every down isn't what Pace does. They like to set up the pass with the run.
Yeah, well, I think the key is, Pace needs to either have some success early or keep within striking distance early. Don't let it get out of hand early on. And like you said, get to that situation where they have to start throwing because they're 2 or 3 touchdowns down. I think another key, too, is, one thing that might get overlooked going into this game is Pace has played a very tough schedule. We don't know too much about Bartram Trail. We don't know what kind of schedule they played, but we know Pace has been through a very difficult schedule. I mean, when you talk about playing Niceville and PHS twice, and even in their non-district games of playing Navarre and playing Catholic, I think that they played enough quality competition that a game like this is not going to scare them. And I don't know how battle-tested Bartram Trail is, so I think that's kind of a key to see. I think that might be the one advantage that Pace does have is that they've been through the gauntlet. They've run the gauntlet this year. I don't know how strong Bartram Trail's schedule was. I know that Pace definitely has kind of faced with stiff competition.
Right. And Bartram Trail, their only loss this year was to St. Augustine, and then St. Augustine's bounced in the first round of the playoffs, so you don't know how quality that loss was. Though throughout the year, St. Augustine won the higher-rated teams in the area. And don't forget, Pace also played Pine Forest, a very athletic team that has a lot of guys that can give you a lot of problems. So the matchup will be very interesting. I don't know that they will fall down early. I don't know that they'll take an early lead, but I expect it to be a good game late. I expect it to be a striking distance late game for either team. Whoever's behind, should be within striking distance in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the closer to home game. Northview, about an hour north here of downtown Pensacola. Northview will host Chipley. This is a state semifinal game. The winner goes to Orlando next Friday at 6 o'clock Central Time to play in the state championship game.
Yeah, and and it's a rematch from earlier this year. I think Northview and Chipley played in the second game of the season for Northview. It was like week 3 of the season, but Chipley won that one. So Northview is looking for an opportunity to kind of get a revenge, a little bit of revenge for that game. Of course, it's gonna be tough though, going without their quarterback tonight.
Right. When your quarterback gets suspended, even if it's just for taunting. I mean, you don't want to say just for taunting. Obviously, unsportsmanlike penalties are a problem. But when it's just for taunting, he didn't punch anybody, he didn't kick anybody, he didn't get into it with an official. He didn't really do any of those things, and to be playing without him merely for a official believing that you're being unsportsmanlike, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow this late in the game.
Well, it is, and especially, like you said, it's state semifinals. I can understand if he threw a punch. I can understand if he was involved in a flagrant foul on a late hit or something that was vicious. But this is a situation where, and I think a lot of people have kind of seen the film by now, it was a situation where he was standing over a defender for, not even a split second. That they had to slow it down on the tape to make it look like he was standing over for 3 or 4 seconds. And then he turned around and walked off the field and was flagged for taunting. But it's a tough blow. But, as Wheatley would say, the game is still going to be played.
Right.
Whether you have him or not, you kind of have to move past it. Northview still has that great offensive line that's been there all year long. They have those great backs that have been there all year long. And, of course, the defense has just been phenomenal these last few weeks.
Right, and you have Kevin Vaughn moving into the quarterback position. You know, he doesn't have a lot of experience at quarterback, but he has a lot of game experience. He's a starter on defense. He won't be uncomfortable on the field, and that's a big first step for a lot of quarterbacks is just finding a comfort level being on the field.
And then, I mean, you know, not to you know, disparage what Brandon Sheets does for them, because obviously he's a big part of that offense. But we're not talking about a spread attack like a Catholic where the quarterback is kind of the key guy. We're talking about a double tight wing formation where it's a lot of just kind of misdirection, and the backs are really the kind of the feature in that. And from what I saw in that Weewa game, you know, Kevin Vaughn's got some speed on the outside. He scored on a 34-yard run in the fourth quarter. So I think he'll manage the offense well. Obviously, it comes down to the same thing it came down to in that first matchup, turnovers. If Northview has 4 turnovers, it doesn't matter if Brandon Sheets is quarterback or Tom Brady's quarterback. If you have 4 turnovers in the state semifinal game, you're going to have a hard time winning.
Yeah, and they had 5 in the Chipley game the first time. So it'll be one of those matchups where if Northview still plays their game, whether you're at quarterback or Kevin Vaughn's at quarterback or I'm at quarterback,
yeah.
If Northview plays their game, they execute their running offense the way it can be executed. It doesn't matter who's under center. They should win this football game. And, you know, it's a rematch, and they're on the Northview's home field. So you got to think there's going to be a little bit of an extra spark there. Maybe Chipley overlooks them just a touch because, I mean, they did beat them the first time around.
Exactly, and now they're playing without their quarterback, so maybe Chipley's kind of, you know, a little bit more confident going into this game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up. Join us, well, not tomorrow because I'll be in Jacksonville. So
maybe we'll do something Saturday.
Maybe you'll join Brady tomorrow. Otherwise, join us late tomorrow, early Sunday, all day Sunday, and we'll catch up with you next week. We'll either be wrapping up the season or preparing you for another round. So until then, I am Jason Blakeney, and this is Brady Amon, and y'all have a good evening.